All right, so as already mentioned, this one, you're given all three sides. So side A, here we go, is 10. B is 13. C is 20. Now I'm going to give you a helpful hint. This might really save you from having problems with law signs. Do you agree the only reason for law signs is that it could be acute or obtuse? Right? So law of cosines doesn't have that problem because it's positive in the first and fourth quadrant. The fourth quadrant doesn't have any angles in it that could fit in a triangle. So the nice thing that you can do to avoid all problems is when you have law of cosines in this setup, go for the biggest angle. Because that's the only one that could possibly be obtuse, right? And then once you take that one off the board, law signs can't possibly give you a wrong answer anymore. And so which angle should I try and find? Angle C, which means I'm going to go to the one that has C squared in front. And fill it in as best you can. What we're going to do on this one, though, is we're going to have to do a lot of algebra before we can actually type it in. And then here's where I'm actually going to show you where a lot of people will make a mistake. So here's 10 squared plus 13 squared minus 2 times 10 times 13 times the cosine of what? Well, we don't know exactly. Yeah, see. Well, let's figure out what some of these numbers are then, huh? 20 squared is? 400. How are we doing out there? Everybody doing all right? Okay. 10 squared? I almost said the answer that time. Yep. 13 squared? Mm-hmm. Minus, well, we can take these numbers times each other, right?
So it'd be
negative 260 cosine of C. Does everybody agree with what I have written in green? All those numbers are accurate? Now, here's what a lot of people do. They look at these two numbers and they say, I can add those together. That's 269. Do you agree with that? Well, I do. That's 269. But then what they do is they say, okay, I'm just going to subtract 260 from that. You can't do that because how is it attached to cosine? By multiplication. Is that following order of operations if you do that subtraction before you do the multiplying? No, you're not. So if you put those two together right here, do not try and put those two numbers together. Was it okay to put these two together? Yes, because nothing was attached to that. There was nothing multiplied by it. But down here, it is. So make a note to yourself not to put the 260, in this case, the 269 and the negative 260 together. I look at it this way. I see angle C way over there is my variable. It just has a lot of stuff attached to it right now. It has a cosine, a negative 260, and a 269. Of those three things, which is the easiest one to get rid of? Yeah, get the 269 out of there. It's the easiest one to move by subtracting it. And it is okay to get a negative answer over here. That can happen because cosine's negative in the second quadrant. So it is possible for that to happen. So 400 minus 269 is 131 equals, so this is gone. Now watch out. Negative. There you go. Good job. Negative 260 cosine of C. So hey, we got rid of the 269. We still have a cosine attached and a negative 260 attached. The easiest one to get rid of, the 260. Should we take the negative with it while we do it? In the past, people have told me I can add 260 to both sides. That is inaccurate. You have to divide. But the minus sign does throw some people off from time to time, so that's something we take care of. Now, 131 over negative 260, my calculator can deal with that. But that's what cosine of C equals. We almost have C by itself. So cosine equals that, so we have to get cosine off that angle, which means arc cosine. So in other words, C is equal to arc cosine of 131 over negative 260. And seeing cosine's negative in the second quadrant, I'm anticipating an obtuse angle on this one, because this is going to be in the second quadrant guaranteed. And this is how it takes care of law signs problems. If you know it's the biggest, the other ones can't possibly be obtuse. And so you don't have to worry anymore. Does anybody believe they have angle C figured out? 120.3. I've heard from a variety of people. Okay. I hope you see how that takes care of sines problems. Now, if there can't be. But what I tell people to do, just so they stay in the habit, is once you, in law of cosines, go for the biggest when it's just set up. In law of sines, go for the smallest. Does it really matter in this one anymore? No, because you can't possibly get the wrong answer anymore. But if you stay in that habit, you'll be better off. And so which is smaller, A or B? Angle A, yeah. So we're going to go sine of 120.3 because we got law of sines. Now we got our pair over 120, over 20, excuse me. And sine of A over 10. And I think we've done so many law of sines so far this year. I think most of you have got that figured out pretty well how to do that one. Once again, we are going to have to use arc sine on this one. So go ahead and figure that one out. And we're expecting this to be the smallest, probably quite a bit smaller than 120. And I've been told 25.6, which I agree with. Now, if I go to do law of sines for angle B, it's not going to equal 180. Right? And so that's why I would say let's just make it equal 180 so it makes sense. That's just one way to check. And how much is left over then? 34.1. And what you really need to do then when you're done is step back and make sure that the angles and sides make sense. Because if you do it wrong, you're going to come up, maybe not initially notice that it's wrong, but when you step back, you're like, wait a minute, that angle's not across from the biggest side, that's a problem. All right, and so we look here, looks good to me. Any questions about law of cosines? So it's just another way, basically if you don't have a pair,